All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you may be. We are now here once again with the amazing Don Mazi Mitchell.
Yay!
So, don't quite remember where we last left off in our discussion, but how about we just see where things are going for you right now? Like, what's been up?
Well, things are going okay.
Oh.
I mean, it's it's a little slow. It's a little different because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I booked a couple of commercials, and I've done 2 commercials, and I've had about 4 go away.
So 2 out of 4?
Yeah, 2 out of 4.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. They were interesting. I did the first commercial out of one of the rental houses that I deal with, MBS.
Mm-hmm.
So
For
they
those
got
of you that don't know, Manhattan Beach Studios.
yes.
Yes. Okay.
So they got an experience on prepping, a commercial job, and I did too. For the COVID situation, they have electrostatic. I might not know the exact pronunciation of it, but some electrostatic sanitizer machines that they use.
What does that do?
Well, it sanitizes the
No,
equipment.
I mean, is it like a UV or
Like I said, I can't really explain it. It's I know it's
it.
electrostatic. It's electrostatic, and they use some kind of solution.
Mm-hmm.
So it might have UV, but they wear these backpacks and these sprayer hoses.
So it's like having like a hazmat team on site the entire time, almost.
Well,
It's
not the
like,
entire time. Not the entire time. When we prep the job, when we load in the truck, they spray everything down.
like on the way in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Before it goes out, like from the warehouse.
Oh, okay.
They take in, set everything out, get it organized and counted, and then they take and spray everything.
So what are some of the protocols right now that you have to go through to go from like booking your job to like doing the job to load out?
Well, it's going to first start with the you book the job, you negotiate your rates, you semi-negotiate with manpower. They already kind of have a standard of what they projecting that they're going to be able to spend for manpower, but then you get to the job and you read the script and you figure out, what does it actually take. So those are the first steps, and then once you get past the preliminary negotiations, then you set up your scout.
Yeah. Is that still the same process with
It's still
the new
the same
protocol?
process,
Okay.
but it's a lot different.
Okay. So what are the differences?
Well, the difference is, everyone has to do the 6 feet. Well, the first thing is when you show up, you got to get checked in. They do a temperature check. They give you their mask. You can't bring your own mask, just because they just want uniform. You know what I mean? Like a protocol of like, we know these masks work, so these are the masks that we're going to use. And most of the time it's been K95 type mask. So you get a temperature check, you get a wristband saying that you made it, and you have to wear your mask. And then from there, it's about the 6 feet distance. So you end up going in a 7x7 room with 7 people, and you're supposed to keep 6 feet away.
So everybody's just like at their own corners?
So I mean, of course, that's not every space, but
Yeah.
the goal is to keep the 6 feet apart and discuss whatever the shots or the plan is, and then and then from there you do your scout of measurements of how far is the generator going to be, if the generator could be close to set or not, at least for a lighting aspect of it. Or if you're in a warehouse, or if you're in a place that has power, what's the distance from getting the power to your set. And then you have to kind of take measurements on what type of equipment you're going to use, how much of it, and then you see if you have enough power or you bring in the right
Does the
power source.
quantity of equipment on set has it changed since COVID happened? Because I spoke with a friend of mine, and he was telling me now they have to rent twice as much light because the way they run things is they have 2 teams come in or like the first team comes in the day before, set up as much as they could, and then the actual like film team don't actually readjust anything. They just turn things on and off just for the sake of shooting,
I mean,
to keep like as much distancing as possible.
I mean, that's not the way I did it.
Okay.
But that is a way. We don't, the people that I work with and light with, we don't, I mean, I can't say that we don't light like that, but it depends on the project. If you're going, right now, not everything, a lot of projects want to do location because of you have a little bit more space, open air, versus being enclosed in the stage and you're circulating the same air.
Yeah.
So a lot of places want to do, more location. So with that being said, I mean, it depends on day and night and what are you trying to see from the outside, you know what I mean? Or are you pushing light from outside to inside? And then that depends on, then the other aspect is, how are you gonna light the inside? If you're pushing light from outside to inside, are you gonna use a lot of lights? Do you need to put lights up strategically in places, or if you're gonna light off the ground? Then once you kind of figure that out, that's a conversation with, first it's the director and the cinematographer, then it's the cinematographer, gaffer, and key grip. And then you discuss, what you're gonna do, and from there we take our measurements and see how much power, what kind of lights we're gonna use. And then you show up. You show up for the shoot day, and yes, you do get a pre-light day, and it depends, like I said, depending on what you're using, is how much time or how much manpower you need to do the pre-light.
Is the number of manpower affected due to the pandemic?
Yes, there are limitations, and it is true about what you said. It's like you do try to get as much work done on a pre-light day. For the style that I mostly use, it's about the power and distribution, and then I normally light, if it's a day interior, I normally light from the outside, push big lights from the outside. So depending on what type of space it is, how many windows, how big of an area, then that's going to determine how many 18Ks and 9Ks and xenons and things like that. How many of those I'm gonna use outside? If we're gonna use condors, if it's a high rise or second story, do we need condors, or do we need scissor lifts? So all that's done in the pre-light. So when you do show up, you have the lights roughed in, through the windows or.
Oh, so it's just minor adjustments on the day of the shoot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Oh,
and then the manpower is usually a little bit less. It might be. I mean, like I said, if you're using scissor lifts and condors, well, you still need those men in the condors, but they're also spread out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. Or if you have rows of 18Ks outside, a large window or a large door, or whatever, then you still usually you need the manpower in order to move those lights, but everybody is spread out. So, and then on the inside, it's usually just myself, and I usually get one person to come in when we do get the opportunity to light. But for the most part, now it's mainly just the gaffer really on set.
Okay.
Yeah.
So support teams pretty much like on the outside.
They're pretty much on the peripheral, yeah.
Ah,
and then
okay.
the way it works is you have a pre-light time, and that's when the talent's not in. So you either have stand-ins or you're lighting an area, and then that's when you make your adjustments. It'll be myself and one, maybe two electricians, most likely one, and then the same thing for a key grip and his best grip that he'll have with him. And then you just manipulate the few units that you have, The trickiest part of the protocol is, it's the 6 feet distance, it's to wear the mask, and it changes even more when the actors are on set. They don't want anybody even in the room. And I'm more used to staying close to the camera.
Yeah.
Or even if I'm not right next to the camera, I'm usually sitting right next to the cinematographer.
Because you have to see
at the
how
monitors.
the lights look like on the monitors, right?
Yeah, And you usually the monitors are usually, I mean, they're always definitely 6 feet away from the set, but they're usually fairly close so that you have access to get right to the set and make your changes. But being that now that we have the actors, it's all about like, if we do need to make changes, the actors need to step away or they need to put their mask on, and then you got which makes it difficult is now you got to get the stand-ins, which normally don't really look just like the actors.
Oh yeah, like
They look
even
similar.
slightly skin complexion changes,
Complexions,
or
facial
height.
features, heights. So then you start lighting to the non-actual, and
Ooh.
then you got to be quick to make an adjustment to when the actual actor gets in. And it doesn't sound like it could be a difference sometimes, but it's
To a
surprising.
professional.
Yeah, it is really surprising how just certain facial features changes the light.
Yeah, like if the bone structure is a little higher in the cheeks, then
Yes.
there's like more
If
shadows.
the eyes
in
are
different
set
places.
back differently,
Wow.
if the ears or if the hair is different.
And is like the monitors like have to be set further away too? So like if you were with them,
Well,
it's just like
Not so much further. I mean, the distance of the
Okay.
monitors are kind of still the same.
Okay,
It's just
okay.
also like the other part of the effect is like, I don't know the exact number because I'm not an AD, or that's not something that I like completely pay attention to. But whatever that number is that's on set, I think the last set that I did, it was like it was 10 people, but the room was maybe 2,000 square feet or something like that. But only 10 people could be on the set at a time. So what happens is, if you need to make, if the art department needs to come in and move couches or move set pieces or whatever, then we would have to kind of step away.
wow. So it seems like what would normally be a day shoot could potentially be like
A
2
2-day
day or
shoot,
even
yes.
3 day, depending on how
Yes.
complex the environment is.
Yep. And then most good production companies are going to allow people to take, because you're in the mask full time, and sometimes you do work up some energy and you get to, you might breathe hard, but sometimes you're around the big lights and everything, and it gets a little hot, and so they allow people to take. I don't know how it's really organized. Like I said, that's the ADs that do it, but maybe like, I don't know, maybe every hour or hour and a half or so, they say, okay, you take a 15-minute break, go outside. Then they have designated spaces for you to go outside.
Like per person or teams or?
Like pretty much like on an individual. If you, on an individual base, like if you can handle it, you stay. If you can't, there's no, you know what I mean? There's no repercussions for, I got to go take 10 minutes and just take this mask off and just stand and be for a minute. So that's kind of, that's within like, I think they kind of, the AD department will kind of routinely, like I said, about an hour, hour and a half, they'll just check in and say, if anybody needs a little break, this is the time, go ahead and do that. And
That's a lot of extra hurdles.
yeah, it is. It is. It is. It's very, it's really tricky. I feel for a lot of production companies because they, they're responsible for, everybody there.
Yeah.
So, and with these protocols, they have to make sure that, everybody is doing their best to adhere to the rules, which is tricky if you've been in the industry for, any number of years. Like you've already tuned into the process of how to do filmmaking anyway, so which is unorthodox in itself.
Yeah.
So to add the extra layers is like, it's kind of jarring.
And it's like some of these are huge changes into like your daily steps too. Because if you have to be like further away to run in and make your adjustments and stuff, like that's a lot more cardio per hour than you normally had to do before.
And it does, and it just automatically adds a little bit more time. But right now, the two projects that I was experienced so far, everyone did their best to follow the rules, but it's you know it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's still difficult.
And then these were commercial
Yeah.
shoots, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so based on what you've experienced on doing these commercials, like how do you see like bigger productions or like television or movies are going to be affected? Because those teams are generally way bigger,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Well, I don't know exactly how the industry is going to standardize the system, but the commercial world is giving them the opportunity to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and how to manage.
Oh, so that's like basically the testing grounds right now.
Right now, at least that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense because
Yeah.
the production size is smaller, so they can really
Yeah.
like work out the kinks
Yep.
and the protocols before like they bring like
Exactly.
50 people on set, 100 people on
Exactly.
set.
And there's a way to achieve it. It's just, I feel more like it's going to be more multiple crews. You'll definitely, we've always had a rigging crew, but you'll have a rigging crew for all the departments. You'll have a pre-light crew, and then you'll have the actual shooting crew. I think,
Wow.
in which is just, and it's kind of like their times are going to like, semi-overlap.
Is that going to affect like, let's say, maybe scripts now can't have a ton of actors or talent in one place anymore? Like it's more like almost solo style.
Very similar, yeah.
experiences?
I mean, it hasn't, well, we don't know yet because there isn't anything out there's, let me say, very little projects that's out on that scripted narrative format right now. But it definitely in the commercial world, they're not big gatherings. They're more actual people of family versus like picking different actors together. You know what I mean?
Whoa.
At least the commercials that I've
Okay.
done so far.
So that's like even the dynamic of casting has changed.
It has
as well.
changed, yes. So, but when it comes down to narrative television and feature film, I'm sure it's gonna be kind of almost similar to how the NBA is set up right now, where you're in quarantine and you're kind of just with your team. You don't really socialize amongst other people. So I feel like the feature and television world is going to kind of implement
Like possibly like
something
all right,
similar to that.
you signed this contract, don't hang out with anybody besides like other talent in this shoot for the next 2 weeks,
Yep.
and then do the shoot, and then once the shoot's done, then you can start hanging out with people again. Would
Probably so.
potentially be a
Potentially,
protocol, right?
exactly.
Zoom calls are
Something
going to
like
be
that, yeah.
up. Wow, that'd be crazy. Did they have to have everyone go to get tested
No.
before or
No.
anything? No.
Not for the commercial
Okay.
projects that I've done, but I do have a couple of friends they're doing television sitcom work, and they had to go get tested. They had to get tested. Like I believe it's more of the major lots that you have to go get tested, and they were actually on a major lot, and they took struck the gear from the major lot and went to a independent studio. Being that, because I don't, on the major lot,
Yeah.
they're following a lot of rules,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And a lot of liability insurance, and so they made him take the test to get on the lot.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so even just to rent, because you said they're taking the equipment to another lot, so
Yeah.
like they were just renting, but just to go into the lot to pick up their rentals.
Yeah, to get to. Well, I mean, what it basically was, it was a set that they had already built on the major lot. They had to tear the set down, right? Wrap up the gear and take it to an independent lot.
Oh.
So
Okay.
it was a whole show that got.
So basically, the bigger studios don't want to have the liabilities on their facilities. They rather push it.
Well, I don't know if it was
elsewhere, in a way?
I don't know if it was the bigger lot that didn't want the liability, but the production company definitely, for some reason, wanted to leave the big lot and go to a smaller lot. Yeah. So, like I said, I don't know who, what party it really, facilitated, but that was
Okay.
something that happened.
That's really wild. Like
Yeah.
to have everything already set there, and then okay, guys, well, we're gonna move everything.
Yeah. I mean, it does, it doesn't necessarily, it could have been, it could be a number of things. It could have just been financial for the production, or it has something to do with the COVID protocols. I don't know for sure, but I just know that was their process. And what I do know about that process is that in order for for that team to get on the lot,
You have to get
they had
tested.
to get a test.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
So, like I said, for whatever reason they needed to move everything to the next space, they had to take a test to get on the lot.
So then, from doing all the new protocols for being on set and prep work and stuff, like what's the protocols now for loading out and bringing everything back?
Well, the how it basically goes, you load, so you do the shoot, you pre-light, you go through, you do the shoot, and then when you wrap the gear back to the trucks, and then you take the truck back to the facility, the rental house, then they take everything out, and then they spray it down again. So then from there, they put it back on the shelves.
So there's like the show sprays it down and the rental house, or just the rental
The
house?
rental houses.
Okay.
The rental houses spray everything down before it shows up on set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some, I can't speak for every, but I'm sure some productions are still going to want you to wipe things down even when it shows up, even though like it's part of the rental house protocol to spray everything down
Just like
before
in
it
case.
leaves and when it comes back. So it's getting sprayed down twice
So,
from the rental house.
so basically, the equipment now are like way cleaner than they've ever been
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. Yep. Which for a rental house, it takes more time, more manpower and stuff like that. So.
But are there still like a lot of rental houses still open the way they used to be? Because from the 2 shoots that you did recently, did you have to do any rentals?
Yes.
Okay.
Their time and manpower is a little bit less. Like I think MBS was open from 9 a.m. or 7, 8 a.m. until 1 in the afternoon. So they're trying to get their orders in early, or it kind of gets pushed to. I mean, they'll stay if they have to.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Of course, they're trying to get follow the rules and.
Yeah, also just because there's just not enough customers to have the entire staff there in a usual schedule.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, a lot of the time has been cut shorter, and I guess usually a little bit less manpower.
So production time's getting longer, but then like the supporting side of the industry is like cut down.
It's getting cut. Yeah.
Wow, that's really rough.
It is tough. It's different. It's tough, but it's gonna get better.
Yeah, yeah. So from what you can tell, like, how much do you think budgets had to increase by since all the new protocols?
I mean, I would say at least another 20 to 40%.
Oof.
Yeah, at least, because just alone to supply everyone with all the PPE, all the protection equipment. I mean, that's it's not cheap,
Yeah.
And you got to have the quality stuff. So you're paying a certain price, and you have to have plenty. And then they also have to have now. Don't know the exact term, but it's a COVID COVID resource company that like monitors that you have all the right equipment there, that you have, I mean, as far as
so it's
COVID
almost
equipment.
like health inspectors.
Almost
come
like a
through.
health inspector, but it's a COVID health liaison, like I said, I can't think of exactly what they call it. They do have a name for it, but it's the advisor, like basically, the COVID advisor. So they're there, making sure that
They have to be there on set the entire
They
time?
have to be there. You
So
have
it's almost
to
like
hire.
having like a fire marshal pretty much
Very
just kicking
similar
it
to
there.
that, yeah. You have to have that, but they're actually a little bit more active than a fire marshal. A fire marshal will do his runs and his checks,
Yeah.
but like on a set, as the COVID advisor, you're pretty active because you kind of have to go around and check with everybody. You know what I mean? Like making sure that they're wearing their PPE, and if they're wearing their PPE, how are they functioning? Like some people might get can't handle the breaths and get short-winded and lightheaded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of different symptoms for people that's wearing the PPE.
And is it just like one person that has to?
Well, it's usually a team. I don't know
okay.
exactly. Depends on how big the project is.
Okay.
Then there's whatever, however it qualifies, like, I don't know, 15 people, one person for every 15 people or something like that. So that would mean an average set that has roughly 20 people on it, 25, 30 people on it. We would have at least 2 to 3 monitors, I'm sure. And then the way when you have 20 and 30 people on set, you're not all together on set. Just people, in this area, or you know what I mean, like.
Or all the departments like in their own places now.
You're spread out.
Yeah.
And that's also, I'm gonna tell you, one of the trickiest things about it is the eating. You all have to eat because that's the time when you're not wearing a mask, the most vulnerable, right?
And that's when usually everyone used to get together
And
at
that's
the same
when you
time,
used to
right?
get together and sit close with your crews and and your buddies and whatever. But now everyone has to be 6 feet apart. So you're having lunch with somebody, but you have to maintain the distance. So it's not as it's not as tight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Less camaraderie.
Yeah, it's a little bit distant, which kind of like I said, television and feature film haven't come around yet, but I'm sure that makes a difference because sometimes some people you need that energy, you want that energy to kind of recharge, or you want to be alone, but I feel like that being close together and having lunch together sometimes it recharges you, so you're not really going to get that.
Yeah, like just being able to socialize, because that's like some of the best parts about filmmaking is making new friends, or like making some jokes about like, oh man, did you see like what they had to do to like get that shot?
Yep. The advisor, the monitors, they have to, and they have to constantly remind, just because it's not a habit yet.
Yeah.
Remind people that you
Back
got
off.
Yeah,
Back
6
off.
feet. 6 feet. You hear it all day now. It's 6 feet. 6 feet.
Sounds like everyone needs to just during lunch have like a Zoom meeting and everybody's just on their phones hanging out and talking with each other.
Yep.
Wow. So with the announcement of like indoor businesses having to close down again, like, did you have any productions coming up after like this month where like now it's back to being up in the air because of that announcement?
Yes, there was a couple that I was supposed to be doing this month that I'm kind of not for certain about. There's a few projects that I have coming in August. I don't know yet. We'll find out soon. I don't know if the situation with the COVID gets worse here in LA, then I doubt it very seriously. If it kind of stays the same or go down, then I'm sure those projects are still. And those projects also, I don't know much about the projects just yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The situation could be where we're all very, distant. It could be a large space. Might not really affect us. But we're just kind of in limbo with the film commission and COVID advisors, the county, the state, on what we'll be doing next.
Because of this, if like this could potentially go longer, do you foresee the potential of like productions having to go outside of California more, just to kind of be able to still operate?
A certain part of that is a yes, but then there's also, it's almost as if the situation where a lot of Americans can't go to other countries right now.
Oh.
Because it depends on what states you go to and how those states want to protect their state.
Especially it's like, oh, California.
Yeah, like
aren't y'all's number like way up here?
Exactly. Who knows? Right now it's all we're just just taking it day by day.
Okay.
Saying yes to what you feel comfortable with and no to what you don't. That's another tricky part too. Crews. Dealing with crews. Some people, everybody has a different motivation or will to want to get out and work or just concerns about their health.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you just got to just roll with it. Who wants to go? Who doesn't want to go?
So like when you get a job, you just kind of message your team and you're like,
message
hey,
the
so
team,
like
yep, and
calls come
just
through.
really reassure them that this where we are, this time that we're in. If you don't feel comfortable or whatever reasons that you have to say no, it's okay.
Yeah.
You're still part of the team, and when this is over, we'll you get a call. If you don't want to do it right now, you don't want to do it right now. It's okay. But
that's good that there's still folks that understand or being understanding for those that maybe they don't want to put their family at risk or
there's all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All kinds, and you just got to roll with it. So I haven't. There's a couple of things that I've turned down too. Like, man, I'm not doing that.
Like which ones, if you don't mind sharing?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about anybody, but there's a couple of things where I'm like, man, I'm not going to be in that space like that. No.
Was it just like a confined?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. Little bars and stuff. It's like, nah, I'm cool.
So then that means like, for the most part, then it seems more safe if like the productions are done outdoors.
Yes.
Than indoors.
More like, well, not necessarily. Yeah, outdoors is definitely the best place to be, but if you have large houses or comfortable sized spaces, then those are a little bit more easier to deal with.
And like based on your last project, like did you have to get more equipment than before or
No.
same amount?
Same amount.
Everything was good? Okay.
Yeah, same amount. It's just a difference really. I mean, I'm gonna light a project the way I light a project.
Yeah.
So it's just more or less manpower and man days, like as far as the pre-light.
Mm-hmm.
The pre-light can be a little bit more extensive or a little bit more thorough. Like you also have to bring the cable and lay out the distribution for the set. You have to, and then the work that you do inside, you might have to, take practicals and wire up different things, or that's where sometimes that could take more time to just have the pre-light dialed in. You know what I mean?
Like having to predict and assume where things are going to have to be
Well,
based on
and then
your
how a lot of commercials go when you're doing practical locations is, you bring the cable in, you set up the lights, and then you shoot. This time it's like you have to bring the cable in, bring in the big lights, then what else needs to be done inside so we don't have as many people in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little, previs that you have to do. There's also just a little bit more like planning that you have to take on. It's more creative and you kind of do it on the day.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like you have a idea of what you're going to do, but then, the sun might hit, you're in there doing a pre-light and the sun might come through a window and it's like perfect, but the sun's going to move. So then it's like, oh, I want to create that. I want to recreate that. Let's take and put a light up there and make it do the same thing that the sun's doing. So you, like I said, you have to be flexible. You have to, have a certain amount of gear, and just be ready to do certain things, creative things, kind of on the fly.
So since you're like kind of split between Georgia and Los Angeles. Have you gotten any word from Georgia? Like any ideas?
Well, my
if
show
you,
got canceled.
like completely canceled?
They completely canceled Council of Dads. I mean, you know, the industry itself has always been kind of, you know, up and down,
Yeah.
semi-seasonal. But 25 years, I've kind of gotten used to that, and I've developed a way to relax a little bit more
Yeah.
about the situation.
Because when it dips hard.
It dips. Sometimes
And
it dips
then-
really hard.
And then like when it's up, everybody's flourishing.
Yep. It's very It's very much like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yep. But like I said, you know, after 25 years, you kind of get used to the roller coaster. Yeah.
So, I remember you were mentioning that you were in the process of getting another truck together. Like,
Yes, I'm
Is
in.
that
I'm at the tail end. COVID has slowed it down a little bit, but I'm at the tail end of building a 32-foot trailer with jockey boxes and you know, framing for the interior and shelves and things like that. So I'm at the tail end of that. Should be ready end of the month.
oh, so it's been built or in the process of building already?
The
Oh,
trailer
fantastic.
is finished actually.
Oh, okay.
It's up to me now. Me and you know the COVID finances. But I'm also at the tail end. I've been able to make some payments and you know get it ready to go and organize some other things. Like so, the trailer is being built by a company in Fontana called R&T Trailers. Then I'm taking it to.
They specialize in doing the interior shelving and stuff?
Yeah, well, no, they build what they do is they build the trailer itself. They put the jockey boxes at the bottom, and they build the lift gate. They do the flooring, and then they do the basic interior lights and the doors.
Oh, okay.
So then
like practically from the ground up then?
From the ground up, yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. They take and depends on like the size of the trailer you want. They take and refurbish older trailers. They'll cut them down, or you can get a brand new trailer. Depends on you know where you at to be able to afford it. And they add your jockey boxes. They weld everything. They paint everything.
What's like
to your
the
specs.
budget to get, like you said, 32-foot trailer
Roughly,
built out?
yeah, roughly somewhere close to $60,000.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not too
for
bad.
32 feet.
Yeah, it's not too bad. You know that it can range, I guess, from 30 to 60. Just a matter of how much detail you want them to put in on the truck.
And
So from there, though, I take it to another company. There's a handful of different companies. There's a bunch of welding type companies that make carts and things like that, and people that's already in the industry. They make carts. They do other welding projects. They do interior welding, custom weldings for vans and stuff like that. So they do the interior. They do the shells, all types of different shells. There's a handful of different designs that you can use.
oh, okay. Are you like talking about like backstage or studio carts? Or
Yeah,
something
like
that?
backstage, studio carts, the grip house. There's a handful of different welding type companies that do it.
Oh, so it's $60K just for
That's
pretty much
just-
the box.
That's just
And
your
then
box.
the interior is like another.
It's another.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roughly how much do you think you're putting in
Anywhere
for this?
it could be from anywhere from 10 to 35,000.
Okay, so in total, we're looking at a little shy of like 100K.
A little
like
shy of 100K.
somewhere between 80 to 100.
Yep.
Okay, and you don't have to buy the big rig itself to like tow it, right? It's more like
No,
you rent it when as you need it, or
it goes two ways. In the commercial world, you pretty much have a independent truck. It's a couple of companies that you use, which usually has a generator on the back. So you get the truck, the generator, and the trailer full of equipment together.
yeah.
Right? when you're doing television and feature film, process usually goes through the production transportation team, who will facilitate how many generators. It could be a generator on a truck, or they might want to use tow plants, and then they just decide what kind of tractor with generator or without that they'll use to pull your trailer.
And with this new trailer that you're building out, are you having to add more stuff to it, or
Yeah.
like what kind of stuff?
Well, I gotta get it shelved out. So the shelving is going to be specific to the size of the dimensions of my carts, and basically to my tool pouch. The lights that I keep. I keep a full package, 2 of everything of HMIs. It's 18Ks, 9Ks, 4Ks, 1800s. That's my basic, HMI package. And then a small tungsten package. I don't really use too much tungsten anymore. I still like it, but the newer projects we don't use it that much.
Because you can probably get away with LED, or
Yeah,
it's
you
just
can get away
the
with
flavor is
LED.
not as popular anymore.
Yeah, well, it's twofold. It's twofold. You have a lot of younger people getting in the industry now, who are familiar with the newer LED equipment, and then you have the more established people, older people are starting to get into using
So it's just
the newer
they're
equipment.
just being phased out. Then.
So yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of cinematographers that you can work with that that still want to use old school tungsten, which for me, that's where I come from. So I'm totally fine with it. It does have advantages and disadvantages. The quality of the light is nice. It's really it has a look. It feels good. But then you have to deal with being that all the LED technology is all dimmable,
Yeah.
right? Let alone you have the full color palette, but mainly is dimmable. So if you're using tungsten, when you dim the lights down, you're going to get a color shift, which is going to be, a 3200 tungsten unit goes down, it goes down to a warmer tone as you dim it down.
You like using like an external dimmer?
Yeah.
Or like using scrims and stuff?
It depends on who you work for, but like I said, mainly everyone's used to LEDs, which you could dim, to any percentage. So they want that same. So you want that same capability of dimming things, but if you're using a tungsten unit, you got to understand that you're going to change the color slightly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then you can use scrims, but it's not the same as if you're used to having somebody
Like a full
dial it
control
in.
dim
Yeah.
versus just
So
like, here's
that's
a one
where-
stop, half stop.
Yeah. That's where the conflict of like using tungsten versus using LED comes in. But there's still ways to manage that too. Like you got to understand you only want to dim the light to a certain percentage before you just start shifting the color too much. Yeah. And so you have to, sometimes you'll put a scrim in it to take it down a little bit, and then you dim it down some, and that'll get you right in the zone.
That sweet spot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of my techniques, at least. Yeah. And another way
Tips
is
and
you
tricks,
can,
guys.
right? Another way is you could take and put a little bit of the contrasting color. If it's a tungsten light and you don't want it to go too warm, you can put a little blue gel on it to keep the color close to the desired color that you're looking for. It's a range.
So now it's so you have tungstens, HMIs,
And all types of LED units, all types.
so you're like starting to stock up on them.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to, when you're working with different people and just certain projects, certain instruments just work better.
Yeah.
or or just I
It's
should
like
say,
taking advantage of the innovation, right?
yeah, it's just easier to manipulate in a lot of situations. Like I was saying before, when I came, I started out music video world, and it was all about gels. You know, so you would have bins and bins of gels of different colors, and you know, you actually develop and you learn what colors work best for certain situations. And you know, you have your go-to color palette, you know, when you're making a moonlight, or if you know, trying to make a sodium vapor type light, you already kind of know which colors to mix, or which colors that's going to look well for contrast and stuff like that. So you have a color palette, and then you come to the LEDs, and at the beginning you had different manufacturers. You had the quality of the LEDs weren't as good, so when you look at it, it didn't always replicate the color that you're used to
Yeah.
with gels. And so
Even with like the filters, the Roscoe Lee filters.
yeah, like you mean like the presets that's in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
lights? Yeah, they're never. I can't say never. It depends. Certain light brands do a good job of the quality. But then, like I said, at the beginning, the quality wasn't quite there with the colors yet. It had to do with the LED technology at the time. But now, majority of the lights do really good color renditions.
So this is like what? How many years after the early LEDs came out? Like,
I mean, seem like I've been messing with LEDs now, I guess, almost 10 years.
10 years.
Almost 10, yeah. About that. You know, a few lights here and there came on. Some looked good, some didn't. Some were too heavy, you know.
Oh yeah, the early LEDs were crazy heavy for
Crazy heavy.
same output equivalent of like,
Yep.
let's say, a tungsten.
Yep. And then the color, then some, you know, at the beginning, certain colors didn't really add up right. Just look off, even if it said it was Lee or Roscoe, whatever color
It
you
might be
pick.
like too green or
It just didn't,
something weird in
yeah.
there.
And at the very beginning, it had a real problem with magenta, green and magenta shift. Like either the lights would come out too green, or they would come out too magenta.
Is that why lights now let our LED have the green magenta
Yep,
adjustments? Okay.
that's pretty much it. Yep, and you know, when your eye gets trained at looking at the colors and stuff, it's like, as soon as you turn it on, it's like, man, that thing's too green, or it's too magenta. I can't.
That's
you know?
so crazy. That when you just walk into a room, you're like, feels pretty green in here.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, you know, that takes time. So I can't really explain like how I developed the eye. I do remember a mentor of mine, Julius Matoyer, just pulling me to the side one day and he grabbed me and he was like, that light's too blue. And he's like, look at that one and look at that one. I'm like, all right, it's too blue. Yeah, okay, it is. Yeah, now you know what I mean. It's like he brought it to my attention, and then I was really able to see it. And I probably had like noticed it, but didn't really.
Like it didn't seem like top of mind relevant at the time.
It wasn't relevant.
Yeah.
But you know,
Because for your average person, like they're not gonna go into a room and just
yeah,
a white light's a white light. What are you talking about?
exactly. But if somebody brings it to your attention, I do that a lot with my children, and my crews. Like, you know, that's not like, and they, you know, like I said, being that I came from music videos and colors, you know, I would ask for a specific color on the light, and they would bring me something that was very close, but not it. You know what I mean? And it's because they're in a bin next to each other.
Yeah.
And they grab the wrong one or whatever, and they would notice. It's like, I was like, yo, that's not the right color, man. That's not the green I asked for. I asked for this green. Like, no, it is. It's like, no, it's not.
See that one? And that one.
And it breaks down to being that simple, you know? And then they look, and it's like, oh, I get it. You see it. It's like just being brought to your attention.
That's what Hecka experience brings to the table.
Yeah.
You just glance at a light and you already know, like, oh, you know, it looks like a little too hot. You got to bring it down to like.
Yep. That's what happens. But like I said, all it is just someone bringing it to your attention. Really. And
it
then
just
after
became
that,
an epiphany moment.
yeah, it's an epiphany moment. And then after that, then you have to home it in. Like, okay, I need to know which this one is, what that is, and then you figure out when you look at a project and you figure out which actually, for me, it's a feeling. So which lights feel better for that situation, or which light feels better on a person's skin. You know,
So you like light with your heart.
yeah, I do. Yep, I really do.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then that also plays a part in like the script and the notes and the situation for the space as well. Like it's all a feeling.
So what type of
me.
notes do you look for
Well-
to determine like the type of feeling?
Well,
For a room.
if it's a little bit more romantic scene, you want the feeling to be warm. Not necessarily candlelight, but just that kind of a feel. You want that warm and cozy,
Yeah, which usually comes more on
soft.
the tungsten leaning colors.
Exactly. Soft, emotional feel. If you're looking for something exciting, then it's, backlights, like with flares and, stuff that kind of adds some action and excitement to it. And if it's, just a day exterior, if you want it to feel hot, then you don't necessarily light them directly through the sunlight, but you put slashes of sunlight across a table in the background, or against the wall in the background, or you highlight with a hot spot on the table, but you just highlight the silverware or the glasses or whatever props are on the table.
So, question that I've always wondered when I watch movies, when they do like a night scene in like the sewers or like the catacombs type environment, is that a blue filter that they're using to give it the blue, or is that in post that they're doing?
Most of the time, it's going to be done on set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they just have the lights lower and just blew everything up to give it the feeling of like it's dark.
Exactly. Well, you
that's
say
usually what I
like
see.
tunnels and such.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Because I always notice like it's for them to give it the vibe that it's dark. It's usually like pretty blue all the time. Like I always wonder like, how is it blue in the tunnels?
Yeah,
there's no light in here.
Exactly. That's kind of more to kind of sell you on it being night as well as being in the tunnel.
Yeah, okay. Because like moonlights are usually more leaning on like,
the blue
bluish.
side. Yeah.
Okay.
And being that we're not specifically talking about a specific project, so I don't know the absolute reason why whatever you saw was blue, but in my assumption of it is that it probably was night as well. So they wanted to still make you think or feel that it was night. So they put a moonlight color.
And what gels usually can achieve that?
Well,
look?
that has to go into like how you're shooting in the camera.
Okay.
Like if you shoot it in a tungsten setting, then you just use a HMI type light or a daylight type light bulb, or or fluorescent, or you take the LED to 5,500 degrees Kelvin. So the 3200 setting on the camera, and then you just take a 5,500 light.
Okay.
And then that's going to give you a blue. That's going to give you a artificial nighttime blue. And then, of course, creatively, some people will add green or any other color that they want. Mostly green to a night if it's a night situation. So if you wanted to make it feel like day, you would there's one way is you could take the camera setting to 5,500 degrees Kelvin and still use the daylight bulb, and then it would give the balance of more like not blue, but more of a white light, so it'll feel more like a daytime situation.
Like outdoors or indoor daytime?
Outdoors.
Outdoor daytime.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, there's a ton of ways to manipulate it in camera and in post. But that from what we're describing that's a
It's usually
simple way. Yeah,
practical.
exactly. That's the more practical side of it. And then there also, a lot of times when you're doing like tunnels and stuff like that, the color range is going to be either fluorescent, fluorescent, which is, it could either be a daytime color, which is 5500, or a tungsten color, which is 3200 degrees Kelvin. But then they'll usually add some green to it, or magenta, blue and green.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, not magenta, cyan, blue and green. Yeah. So there's, and then so back to like moods and situations, and it's like when you're reading the script, you understand, you get a feeling of what the script is about. And then for my creative side of it is, then I just start to try to make it, what can I bring to the table to make it feel like, what you're feeling in the script.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense then.
Yeah.
And then you just coordinate it with the cinematographer.
Yeah, well,
stuff.
like I said, it's the directors and the cinematographer's vision, and they are going to give me the notes, and so from the notes, it's up to me to pick the right instrument or manipulate the instrument that they pick. But it's up for me to carry out what they what they envision.
Okay.
And it's just through communication, talking to each other, or it's communication of showing you references, and also for yourself to read the script and understand what it's about, the scene is about, and then from there, then it just becomes a real collaborative situation. Sometimes the director gives the cinematographer, he already knows what he wants and how he wants it, but it's up to the cinematographer to use the instruments, or the instruments that he likes, and then you place them, and then from there you have your bass. You visualize, you see what you've done in your bass, and then from there you augment, and you shade things, you brighten some things up, you add a little spark here, you take away a little there, and then that's when the key grip and the gaffer collaborate on shaping the vision of the director and cinematographer.
Okay. And then let's say like with things today, like that's still the same process for the most part?
For the most part, that's the process.
All right.
Yep.
Well, Mazi, I think you covered a lot of stuff today.
I think so.
Thank you so much for coming by.
Oh, you're welcome.
And hope you can get on a show soon, because
I mean,
I know that's like your bread and butter right now for like
it's not just
filling
me
this
though.
truck out.
It's not just me.
Everyone gets back to it.
Yeah, we all need to get back to work. But at the same time, just have to deal with COVID and stay safe and
wear your masks, y'all.
Yeah.
Let's make sure this lockdown's only like a week or two.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm still not really ready just yet.
When that announcement came out, I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Anyways, we shake your hand, but I'm trying to social distance. Fist bumps? Yes.
Fist bump. There it is.
There we go.
Yep.
All right, till next time, if y'all have any comments or questions for Mazi, drop a comment below, and then we'll see if we can bring it in to the topics for our next discussions. All right? Peace.